Hi, Leroy Third here. Today we're going to talk about resampling on the Verselab. So begin a new project, and if you want to follow along, I will show you exactly what we're going to work with today. We're going to start in the sequencer part of the workflow, and we're going to make the world's most basic drum beat using kick, snare, and hi-hat instead of the kit. So in kick, we're just going to turn on steps 1 and steps 9. In snare, we're going to turn on steps 5 and steps 13. In hi-hat, we're going to turn on all of the odd numbered steps, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. The most basic drum beat sounds like this. Nothing fancy here. Let's go ahead and hit Shift and push the sequence button to go into tempo mode. We're just going to turn that up to maybe 120 to make it a little easier to listen to. Also, in this menu, go down to count on and turn it off. This will just make things a little bit faster for the demos right now. Also, go into Edit, Record, and turn the recording trigger to clock. For now, that's going to make it so it's simple, so we just hit the play button and it will start recording. All right, so first of all, what is resampling? Resampling is taking audio from this and recording it as a stereo audio track. That's it. No big thing. So let's say we want to take this one beat, one bar drum loop. It's the best drum loop ever created, and we want to turn it into a WAV file so that instead of taking 3 tracks, we just have 1 track of audio. We can't then edit the MIDI data. We can't go back and edit the beat, but we can have it saved for us. So how do we do that? So the first thing we need to do is set the inputs. Now, using this button over here, input, this only sets what's coming in as external audio. So out here we have the line in and the XLR in, and we have the built-in mic down here. That's just these 3 things. That's not what we're looking at right now. So that's not what we need. What we need to do is go to Edit, Record. So the first thing in here is the record trigger, the type of trigger. We're going to set that as a clock for now. Next is record source. That's what we need. When it says record source external, that means one of these. What is this going to use? Right now it's set to line in, so my synth off to the side here, I can play that and it comes through the speakers. That's not what we want. So either use the Control 3 button to change this input, or you tap the value knob to move over to the right side. It's a little flashy guy here, right? That's where the input is. If you hit the value knob, it's over here. That means when we turn the value knob, we're going to adjust what parameter we're adjusting. If we hit the value knob and it goes over to the right, we're adjusting this parameter specifically. Same thing as using Control knob 3. Anyway, so we're over here, and if we keep going down, we go from EXT, which is this external input, to other things. PC is using the USB cable. It would be up here to record to your computer or a phone or something. Then we have the tracks: kick, snare, hi-hat, kit, bass, instrument 1, instrument 2, and vocal. Now, these tracks, apart from vocal, can be anything. It can be a tone track, it can be a kit track, it can be a looper if you're on instrument 1 or 2. You're just telling it which track name that they've named them you're going to record from. At the bottom is mix out, and we're going to use that first as an example to see how this actually works and what we're doing. Mix out means we're recording whatever is coming out from the speakers, whatever we hear. So we selected mix out, let's just hit exit. Now, we're going to use the sampling engine to record our world's most basic drum beat. And the way we do that, again, remember, we hit Edit, Record to change the input. Edit, Record, right? That's where we change the input for the sampler, for the sampling engine. It says sampler settings, right? SMPL setting. Hit exit. To actually use the sampling engine, we use Shift plus Record. That's this little white box down here that says sampling. Shift, and record. Now, because we have it set to clock, it's not going to start until we push the start button, but then it's going to start recording right away. Check it out. We hit start again to make it stop. Now this is in the sampling engine. We can hold down load to listen to what we just recorded. Perfect, so beautiful, right? We can go down in the sampling thing and export sample. It'll save it. We can hit a track like instrument 1, and it will put this sample in that track. So check it out. If we go to instrument 1 now, if we exit out of the sample menu, go to instrument 1. Amazing, right? We have resampled this. Now it's just living here. We could delete these 3 tracks. It's not going to play them. We could play it just through here. Amazing. There are some limitations, like we only get 63.8 seconds at a time to sample. And there's some other limitations we're going to go through in a second. But for now, that's incredible. Let's go ahead and clear instrument 1 just to get that out of the way. So we're not going to use that. We're still listening to these 3 tracks. And let's check out a couple of other things we can use with this, this mix out source that's everything coming out. First, when you're listening to these tracks, you can mute individual tracks. If you hold down mixer, you can mute individual tracks. We've muted kick and snare. We're just going to hear a hi-hat now, right? We can hold down mixer, turn back on the kick, turn back on the snare. We can listen to just the snare, right? So that is one way to adjust what's coming out of the speakers, what we're hearing. We can also solo tracks. So if you just want to hear the hi-hat, instead of turning off the other tracks, you can hold down shift and mixer and then push hi-hat. Then it's just going to solo that track. If you want all the tracks back, you can do it again. Hit the one that's already being played, shift mixer. Since hi-hat is the only one on, hit it again. It turns everything else back on. That's one way to adjust what we're hearing coming out of the speakers. So for now, let's go ahead and solo hi-hat. Okay, that's all we have is the hi-hat. Let's do something to make it distinctive, something that gives it some flavor. We're going to add some of the master effect, the delay master effect. To do that, we hold down shift and push hi-hat, and then go down to delay offset. Now listen. Right, we turn that on. Instead of going dee 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 dee, it's now going dee 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 dee, right? Let's try and record that. Da 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 da. So again, we hold down shift and push the record button, which is sampling. All right, let's listen and see what it recorded. Yes, it recorded the delay. Fantastic, works exactly as you might expect. Let's go ahead and exit out of the sample menu. Let's try something else. Remember I told you it records whatever comes out of the speakers? So what if we're on, say, instrument 1? Let's go ahead and turn on instrument 1 in the mixer just to make sure we have it coming out. Good. If instrument 1 is muted, we're not going to hear it even if we're playing it, right? So we got to turn on instrument 1 and a hi-hat, have those both on. Also, we can hear the synth over here. If I play the synth on my left, we can hear that as well. Is it going to record these things? Let's find out. Shift, record, start, play instrument 1. Let's play the synth off to the left. All right, let's listen and see if it recorded those as well. Yes, perfect. So again, remember, it's recording everything that's coming out of the speakers, which is great. Now let's go ahead and mute instrument 1 again. We don't want instrument 1 in here. We're just doing the hi-hat track. Let's turn on the kick and the snare as well to get our full beat going. Okay, let's try something a little bit different. Notice we still have the delay in the hi-hat track. Da 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 da. Instead of da 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 da, it's going da 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 da. Let's go into edit, record, and instead of saying mix out, let's go up to just record hi-hat. Okay? So now, even though all of these 3 tracks, kick, snare, and hi-hat, are on and they play, it's just going to record the hi-hat. Now let's try it and see what happens. So we're going to hit start. Now all of those tracks came out. The kick and the snare and the hi-hat all came out when we were playing it, but let's play back the sample by holding down load and see what it sounds like. Again, it's just dee 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 dee. It's not got that delay. The other tracks are gone. It's just doing the hi-hat, but it's not doing that effect. Let's go ahead and listen. We're going to solo the hi-hat track. Whoops. Sorry. Just listen to the hi-hat. Listen. Dee 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 dee. Right? The one that's in the sampling. Let's try that again. Let's just solo the hi-hat. Sorry, got a little ahead of myself. We're just gonna solo the hi-hat. Da 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 da. Right? Shift, record. Let's record it. Da 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 da. What did it record? Dee 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 dee. It did not record the effect. Okay, interesting. Let's also try to play my synth off to the left while we're recording just the hi-hat track and see what happens there. Shift, record. Right, got all that synth and nonsense off to the left. Let's listen. Again, it's just getting the hi-hat. Not that effect, not the synth. It's only doing the hi-hat. Here's why. When we were telling it to record let's exit out of the sample menu. Let's go to edit, record. When we're telling it to record a specific track, it's recording at the clip level. So that ends at the end of the sequencer part of the workflow. These, the reverb and the delay that we were hearing before, and also things coming in, like line in and the mics, they come in the mixer section. So if you look, if you hit edit mixer, these total effects, the multi-effects, the reverb, the delay, they all come in way down here, right? When you're telling it in edit record, when you're telling it to record just a single track, it's ending at the end of the sequencer part of the workflow. So it doesn't get to these effects. It doesn't get to the synthesizer, and it will only record that one track. So it won't record the kick or the snare or the kit or the instruments. It just records that where it ends at the end of the sequencer. So let's try one more thing on this. Go to, hold down shift and push hi-hat. Let's put the delay offset back to just -128 so there's no delay. Good, back to normal, deet, 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 deet. But let's add a clip effect. You get one clip effect per track. So on hi-hat, we're gonna go to section select, edit, pad 1, because we're in the first section, the first clip. Go to the bottom to multi-effects, and we're going to go and find an effect that can change how this sounds. So we'll just put on a tape echo. Here we go. All right, listen. Don't know if you can hear that. Let me find something else that's a little clearer. There. Da 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 da, right? All right. Now, we're going to go back to note mode, and we're going to go to edit record. It's still just the hi-hat. Let's record this and see what this sounds like. Shift record. Press start. Da 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 da, right? What did the sample engine get? Yes, it got that effect. Because that effect that lives on this clip in this track is still part of the sequencer part of the workflow. So those effects you can put in, but the main effects, if you do a single track, you're not going to get the effects in edit mixer, these total effects. You're not going to get the multi-effects, you're not going to get the reverb, you're not going to get delay. Keep that in mind. So the way you can use these, you can put down several tracks in one track. You can then load these back in. So for instance, let's go ahead and unmute everything. We're going to unsolo. So we have our all three tracks, the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat. Right, let's record that, just a single bar. Shift, so we need to go into edit and record and change it from hi-hat, because we don't want just the hi-hat, we want everything. Whoops. We want the entire mix out, we want all of the tracks. So let's record that. Okay, great. So now we have it. Excellent. Let's go ahead and export this sample. And keep in mind, this just saves it in the export folder. Okay, it's saved. We could import that later, but we could also just hit like instrument 1 again. Set sample, yes. Now in instrument 1, we have that sample. Oops, let's exit out of here. Also, you could, on a tone track, hit the value knob and go down to wave file. And then go into your folder that's called export. It'll have, that's where you exported files to. And the latest one will be the one that we just exported. And you can say, yeah, bring that in. Boom, imported. Now that's instrument 1. Great, right? Okay. Let's talk about one more way we could think about exporting tracks. We're going to clear this instrument 1 just to get that out of there. So this is not part of it. We're listening to the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat, our amazing drum loop, right? So we're going to go into section, make it 1 bar, because we're just like, yeah, we just want this 1 bar. This 1 bar is amazing. Go into song mode, tell it we just want section 1. It's just 1 bar. And now look, we got 1 bar. If we play it, it ends when that 1 bar ends after step 16. And if we turn this into time mode, we can see the whole thing is 2 seconds long. So what we could do, we could use all of the effects, everything coming out of the synth, including, the synth off to the side, including channels that aren't playing. We could play them in live. We could hit mix down and do full mix. It'll record all of that, just like using the sampling engine and resampling. But there's one big problem with this. When you're saving, when you're exporting from the sampling engine, you hit export, it goes into the folder Roland, MV, sample, export, and then the files are inside that export folder, right? That's where it reads from. If you load any sample, it's looking in the folder Roland, MV, sample. And then you can have other folders as well. For instance, if we go back to sequence mode and load a wave file, this is my sample folder. It's got other folders. It's got a folder called ADSR I can go into. It's got folders inside ADSR, folders inside that. Then it's got folders inside that, and you can listen to samples to see what they sound like. You can hit exit to go backwards. But once you get to the sample folder, that's as far back as you can go. You've got the export folder in there. You've got these 3 folders from Roland that are in there. But again, you can't get to things you made in Mixdown. And why not? Why can't you get to things you made in Mixdown in song mode? If you go to Mixdown and full mix, why can't you see those? It's because they put this in a different folder. When you go to the full Mixdown, it saves in Roland, MV, Mixdown. You can't get into that folder when you're loading samples on this. It has to be inside the sample folder, like Roland, MV, sample, export. Like all the exported stuff from the sampler goes in there. If the Mixdown folder was in Roland, MV, sample, Mixdown, we could access these, but we can't because of where they placed this folder. There's no reason for it to be there like that. There's nothing special about these files from full Mixdown. You could connect your Verselab to your computer and then, copy the file from the Mixdown folder to the sample folder, for instance, and it would work just fine. But then you have to use the computer. There's no way to do that on the Verselab. The one benefit you have of doing the Mixdown here is if the thing you're resampling is longer than 63.8 seconds, that's as long as the sampler can do. If you go back to section, shift, record, 63.8 seconds, right? That's all we have for the live sampler. So if you want it to be longer than that, your only option is using this Mixdown in song mode. It can be as long as you want. For example, let's say we go into section mode. Instead of making this 1 bar, let's make it 16 bars. That's one section. So now, instead of being 2 seconds long, it's 32 seconds long. But what if we then add more? Right? We can add as many of these sections as we want, and we're not limited to just these 16 sections, or these 16 sections that are 16 bars each. Once you get to the end of these 16 sections, you can push this page button and get a whole new page. You can have 99 of these pages of sections. Let's do one more here. There we go. Now check this out. Watch this. We are now at 9 minutes and 4 seconds. It'll just go and go and go for 9 minutes and 4 seconds. We can do the Mixdown for that. It's going to be 9 minutes and 4 seconds long. You can, using song mode and Mixdown, you can make this WAV file as long as you want it to be, completely bypassing the limitation of the sampler engine, which is 63.8 seconds. But again, then when you want to use that file, you have to go into the computer onto your SD card and copy or move those files that you just mixed down. So a bit of a limitation. That is something Roland could 100% fix right now. But to be fair, you're not often going to use that. We will talk more about resampling when we talk about vocal takes, which should be next, and when we talk about looper tracks, which is after that. And we'll talk about resampling for a host of other things in the future, including stacking effects. But for today, that's it. That is the basics of resampling. Resampling is recording audio coming out of the Verselab so you can bring it back in as an audio file because you have some more options to use it in that way. I hope this was helpful to you. As always, I hope you use these things and go out and make something interesting. This has been Leroy Third. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. I will see you next time. Bye.